Hey everybody, Captain B-Nard here with your BHDL1 Week 3 recap and Week 4 preview. So again, I'm going to assume everyone watching this video also watched the weekly battle video, and we're just going to go ahead and dive right into it. Our opponent for this week was R Holder slash Frisk. I neglected to mention before that we were coming into this game at 1-1, whereas our opponent was coming in at 0-2, and we did end up winning the game this week 2-0. It was a very competitive, very intense, very fast-paced game. Just an all-around solid one, and I was very happy to get the win this week because after what happened to us last week, we really needed a win to try and right the ship and get back on track here, build some momentum going forward in the draft. So I was very happy that we were able to pull that off, make that happen. Um, that being said, we're just going to go ahead and dive right into the teams here that we brought. So there you can see the teams that we brought to the game from the team preview here. Obviously, his team on the right-hand side, my team on the left-hand side. And so you can see he brought the Hisuian Lilligant, not the Meloetta, as I had mistakenly said in the team preview during the actual battle video, because number one, the sprites of Hisuian Lilligant and Meloetta look very similar actually, but also I am looking at these on a tiny ass computer screen, so I did mistakenly say and think that that was Meloetta when it was in fact Hisuian Lilligant, which does make a lot more sense for his team. Now, I will say I am happy that that did not play a factor in the game in any way, me thinking that he had a Pokemon that he actually didn't have, because before I made any judgment calls based on that, he did actually switch it in, and I got to see what it was. Yeah, additionally, I will say not to continue to make excuses for my lack of sight or whatever you want to call it, but I actually never have played against the Hisuian Lilligant yet up until this point. So, yeah, just didn't know, but I am glad that it didn't cost me. Yeah, he also brought the Dragalge, the Torkoal, the Hisuian Arcanine, the Slitherwing, and the Galarian Moltres. So really no surprises here on his team. I was expecting pretty much all of what he brought. I knew he was going to bring either the Hisuian Lilligant or the Sawsbuck as his Chlorophyll Mon. I knew he was going to bring either the Hisuian Arcanine or the Hisuian Typhlosion as his fire type to take advantage of the sun, since obviously this is a sun team. Um, and of course the Slitherwing to take advantage with photosynthesis. So no real surprises here. Looking at my side of the game, my team, again, you could say no surprises here, as I brought my Gastrodon, Hawlucha, Goodra, Pincurchin, Orthworm, and Iron Moth. So this is the first time this season that I actually just straight up brought my top 6 draft picks to the battle. And yeah, the electric terrain strategy, obviously, on my side in full swing. Yeah, no real surprises on my side in terms of what Pokemon I brought either. Pretty straight up game here. So, with that being said, we are just going to go ahead and jump over to the weekly pros and cons. We have 3 pros this week, only 1 con, because obviously there's a lot more positive out of this week than negative. Starting off with the pros, of course, the biggest pro of the week is going to be we won the game 2-0, as mentioned, because obviously at the end of the day, we're trying to play to win, also trying to have fun and create some good content for you guys, but we do want to make playoffs. At least that is our goal. So very happy that we could get the win this week 2-0. Another pro is I thought this was actually a very even match on paper, studying not only the 6 Pokemon we both brought to the game, but also our drafts as a whole. I thought that we were incredibly evenly matched on paper, which was definitely a good thing, I think, as it led to, again, a very competitive, very close game. Um, so obviously that's a big pro, because that's what you want to see out of Pokemon at the end of the day. And finally, our prep this week definitely paid off. That's the last pro of the week. I will give you guys some examples of this, because I feel like in this game, my prep really saved me from a potentially far worse outcome in this game. So I'll give you guys some examples. In the beginning of the match, I did predict that he was going to lead with the Torque Hole to get the sun up since I don't have anything that automatically erases weather on my team. So that is why I led with the Gastrodon, and that is why I was packing Rain Dance on the Gastrodon to erase the sun as fast as possible. And this really did come into play in the early turns of the game because he does just straight up switch out into the Slitherwing as I go for the Rain Dance to erase the sun. Now, had I not had the Rain Dance or not gone for it, the sun would have still been up at this point, and so the Slitherwing would have got a photosynthesis attack boost, which actually would have been incredibly crucial because in the matchup of Orthworm versus Slitherwing, the one-on-one, Orthworm could not have actually survived two attacks from Slitherwing without the photosynthesis, or I should say with the photosynthesis being active. So without the photosynthesis active, I was able to tank two hits on the Orthworm from the Slitherwing and get rid of it with an attack. So getting rid of the sun was huge for us in the early goings of the game. Had Slitherwing won that one-on-one with Orthworm, it would have been a much different game than what it was. So, additionally, our set on the Orthworm was very helpful in that situation too, because we had the Rocky Helmet on Orthworm as well as we had a lot of defense investment. So, what that boiled down to was that he did have to take 2 rounds of Rocky Helmet chip on attacking the Orthworm, and that really helped because I don't think our attack actually takes out the Slitherwing from that range at that point in the game without the Rocky Helmet chip damage. So, again, the prep, especially in the early goings of the game, really paid off for us. Um, Additionally, there was another moment later on in the game where we had a one-on-one situation between Hawlucha and Torkoal, and so the thing here again in our prep that saved us was having Stone Edge on the Hawlucha because he did actually bring Rocky Helmet on the Torkoal. So the fact that we had a non-contact damaging move on our Hawlucha really saved us because had we had to take another round of Rocky Helmet chip, it would have actually knocked the Hawlucha out, and again, it would have been an entirely different game. So the prep really did save us this week. And I will say, I was very close to not having Stone Edge on the Hawlucha for this game because while Stone Edge is a really strong move, it's got great coverage. Accuracy of only 80% is not great. So yeah, I was very close to not having Stone Edge on the Hawlucha. And again, if I didn't have it, it would have been an entirely different game. So I think this is really just why you see players in draft leagues just overanalyze and scrutinize and put a lot of thought and effort into all of their sets, all of their moves, all of their EVs and IVs, just everything, because in draft league, literally any little decision that you make can have a difference and can swing a game one way or the other. So, yeah, that is why people agonize so much over these sets in draft league. But yeah, this week I am very glad that the decisions I made and the sets and spreads that I brought ended up working out for us just barely. Um, but yeah, that will feed into the cons of the week, and there's really only one con this week, and that is that I feel that both my opponent and I did make a handful of mild misplays during the game this week. So, on my side of the battle, I will say one thing that I think I should have done differently is I should have prioritized getting hazards up, because for one specific example, with the Hisuian Lilligant that my opponent had, I had a very strong feeling that he was going to be Focus Sash. So obviously, the Focus Sash allows him to take any attack and then go for the Victory Dance, which is obviously bad news for me. So yeah, having the hazards up would have deactivated the Focus Sash, obviously. So that um, would have been a great idea. Although I can't really beat myself up too much for this, just due to the fact that, again, as I mentioned before, this was a very fast pace game. So I really didn't feel like I had a turn of breathing room at all in this game to try and set hazards up. Although I feel like I could have tried to prioritize doing that more. But it's just one of those things, hindsight. That might have made the game play out differently. But yeah, there wasn't too much else. Just little stuff here and there that you could say, oh well, in hindsight, maybe we should have done this or should have done that, but nothing super egregious. On the opponent's side, kind of the same thing, just little stuff and little things with his sets that ended up benefiting me. Um, one on his side, I know for sure that was a big one was not having the heat rock on the torque hole. That was a big one because the sun that allowed the sun to run out a lot quicker in the closing turns of the game, which definitely benefited me greatly. Speaking of that torque hole, another thing I think is in that moment, going back to the situation where we had Hawlucha and torque hole in at the same time. The fact that he didn't go for a stronger attacking move than Rapid Spin because he figured the Rapid Spin plus the Rocky Helmet chip would take the Hawlucha out, and that would leave his Torque Hole at +1 speed, which would have benefited him greatly going into the next couple turns of the game. Um, Obviously, he didn't know that I had the Stone Edge on deck at that point. So again, it's one of those hindsight things, but that's another scenario. And then additionally, after that, with the Hisuian Arcanine not having extreme speed on the Hisuian Arcanine, definitely hurt him as well. But again, it's just another hindsight. Like, you try to make your sets to be as versatile as possible. Um, and sometimes you don't have room for some stuff that you might want to bring. But then I guess that also feeds into the next turn, where we actually didn't know that with the sun up, the Hisuian Lilligant actually does outspeed the Hawlucha. So that's something that, again, you can't know in the moment, just because I believe if I have a speed nature max speed investment on my Hawlucha, I believe I do outspeed the Hisuian Lilligant. But I actually didn't have the speed nature this week on the Hawlucha, which is why the Hisuian Lilligant actually did outspeed it, as we found out later. So, but again, these are all things that it's just like you don't know in the moment, in the heat of the game. Obviously, you don't know what your opponent's sets are until they reveal them to you in the game. So, again, nothing really egregious as far as misplays go, but definitely some little stuff that could have potentially swung the game one way or another. But again, nothing too crazy, I don't think. It was a very solid game through and through. As I said, very competitive, very close, very fast-paced game. And just an all-around solid one. But I was very happy to take the win this week. So yeah, that is going to go ahead and feed us into next week's game, and that is going to be against Arcaniner 52, another player that I don't believe we've ever had a game against. And here's a snapshot of his team. So you can see he has a very powerful looking team there. A lot of high point value threats here, especially right at the top of the draft. So he's got the Roaring Moon, the Iron Treads, the Greninja. He's also got stuff like the Ceruledge and the Breloom potentially. He's got some good solid value pickups like the Mimikyu and the Espeon. So this is a very solid looking team all in all, and something that looks to be another difficult game for us heading into this week. But I am hoping that we can keep the momentum going off of the victory this week, and we can hopefully carry it into next week and the rest of the draft league here. And obviously, I'm not going to reveal whatever strategy that I have thought of at this point to try and face this team, because I don't want to shoot myself in the foot like that. But yeah, I do have some things thinking that how I can potentially deal with this team. But it does definitely a very good looking team, and it's going to be another hard fought game, I'm sure, next week. So. But yeah, that'll pretty much do it for this one. So that's it. Thanks for watching again, everybody. Hope you all enjoyed. Please hit that like button, leave a comment, and/or subscribe if you did enjoy, and stay tuned for more new videos in the future. So that's it, and we'll see you next time.